My 27 boyfriend, 29, sent me a message mentioning another girl's name. I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 15 months. Last night while talking in WhatsApp I got a message from him mentioning another girl's name. Let's say her name was Amy. So he wrote SMTH like you are wrong Amy. I happened to be with the phone in my hands and I peeked through the message without opening it. At the very moment I read it he deleted it. 6 months ago when we were texting on WhatsApp he sent me a message mentioning the same name. Oh god, there is so much traffic Amy. First of all I didn't know he was out going somewhere, it looked like he was home. This aside, when I asked him who is Amy, he told me he was going at his mother's work to take something for her and instead of writing her name, which starts with the same letter as the name he mentioned, Prediction on his phone had chosen Amy and he sent it. As far as I know Prediction chose most used words on the phone. I asked him why would Prediction chose that name if he hadn't used it before and he answered that he used that name sometimes to his guy friends on the group chat. There used to be a transgender guy in our city with that name and people still at this day make fun or call their friends using that name. So I asked him last night why did he write the same name again, because this didn't seem much like a coincidence. He replied it was his father's cousin he was talking to about a job he had found for her. And he has refused continuously to show me the conversation he has had with her. I really have a bad feeling he is hiding something. I do not consider this to be a coincidence. If there is nothing to hide like how he pretends it to be, why isn't he showing me the message? He claims I do not trust him. How can I trust him at this stage when at 2 months in our relationship some number registered on his phone with some random initials kept calling him different times and he continued to hang up instead of picking up. Back then he said it was his girl cousin and some other stories. One of the days I caught this person had sent a WhatsApp message to him which he refused to show to me in any way. He said there were banal/vulgar messages/photos, where I come from this means something like with offensive/sexy words or photos. Your advices would be really appreciated. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend refuses to show me the message he sent me mentioning another girl's name. What should I do? So they are sexual messages, he admitted it. Honestly, this is one of those extremely rare cases where it's probably morally justifiable to snoop and find out for yourself, or give him an ultimatum. He's being extremely sketchy. Just walk away, hun. He has all these different stories and they don't add up. You can't make him tell you the truth. And you may never know exactly what happened, but your gut knows something is wrong and he's not being completely honest with you. Probably not with Amy, either. Also WTF using a transgender person's name as an insult, that's not funny. Call people out and stop that nonsense. You deserve better than this. 1 year together and 4 times you've caught a whiff of something sketchy. You don't trust him for good reason. It will not get better from here. He's, in some manner, involved with Amy. You have some sleuthing to do. Confront him firmly about this issue, and why he won't give you an honest and straightforward answer. Certainly sounds like he's trying to hide something from you for sure, but you never know, could be nothing. Saying that, I call bullshit on him making daft excuses for not showing you the texts. As if you're some dainty feeble-minded female that can't stand vulgarity. I roll. If he can't tell you up front without stuttering or looking away to make up a story, he's lying. Get out, or get him out. I wouldn't feel bad at all for snooping at this point. My 28F husband, 39F, is kind of an arse. Passive-aggressive, distant. Advice highly appreciated. Sorry, meant 38M. In title. My husband and I have been married 8 years. I was 19 and he was 28 when we got married and I didn't have a clue about what I wanted in a man. Despite that, I've tried to make it work, especially now we have a 3-year-old. The thing that bothers me about him is that he's quite passive-aggressive and emotionally distant. If he's upset he won't actually tell me what's wrong, and I ask he'll say curtly nothing even though there obviously is something wrong. He nitpicks with me a lot, especially about our son. The other day at bedtime I bathed my son and dried him off, then we went downstairs, with my son naked, and the house warm, out to get his milk. He saw us coming down the stairs and said, "Why is he naked?" I said, "Because I am getting his milk." "I haven't got two pairs of hands," he replied. "Do it first then," and stormed off. He was then mad at me for the whole evening over this, because I'd been rude in my reply to him. I don't think I'd mind the nitpicking so much if he complimented me too. I never get a compliment really. He never tells me I'm a good mum, I look nice, I'm this or that. I have resorted to asking him before, "Am I a good mum?" And he'll reply, "Yeah." And that's the end of it. A lot of times I'll talk to him and get no verbal response. I grew up with an alcoholic BPD mother. She was point blank horrible to me and still is. He sees what she's like, but because she's nice to him, golden child scenario, he likes her. In an argument before, he's actually said to me, "You argue with your mum and think it's everyone else's fault, but why don't you look at yourself?" The other day I had to go to my late grandmother's house to empty it ready for being sold. It brought up things because I was sexually abedate in that house. The abuser is dead now, and when I told my mother about the abuse, she told me I'm a liar. When I came home from the house and Amp was talking to him about it, I said I would never let my son go through that. I'd go straight to the police. I wish my mum would have gone to the police, but instead she told me I'm a liar. After I said this sentence, instead of comforting me, he just walked off with our child, not saying anything. Sex is practically non-existent. I do have a sex drive, but because of our distance emotionally, I don't feel comfortable being my raw, vulnerable self. Plus he never initiates any foreplay, so it's finished in 5 minutes. He's never affectionate. We don't hug or kiss apart from a quick peck when he's leaving. Funnily enough, he doesn't really have this behavior with other people. He's a manager and genuinely treats his staff amazingly, which I always tell him that he's a great manager. He is genuinely a great friend, sibling and son. He's very kind and has no limits on what he would do for his family. He won a big flat screen TV through work and sent it straight to his dad even though he wanted one. It just doesn't really seem to extend to me. Last year I was going through the most stressful period as my dad suddenly went right downhill, dementia. I was on the phone all day to social workers, healthcare staff, trying to get my dad into emergency accommodation and filling out form upon form while also worrying dad was going to hurt himself. It was so unbelievably stressful. I would tell my husband when he got home about how I was struggling so much. On about the second or third time he told me to stop talking about it because he just wants to come home and relax. I found out a few months ago that I'm 50% at risk of having Huntington's disease. It's a fatal degenerating genetic condition with a shit lifespan and I'm scared. Husband has caught me crying on the sofa a couple of times about it and then said to me, "Just don't think about it too much. You're thinking too much." That's his favorite phrase. #thanks him cured. I didn't even get a hug then too. About 9 months ago someone was giving away a free scooter, so I walked to pick it up as I thought my son would like it. It was so cold, which sparked my asthma, so when I got there I was struggling to breathe and Amp didn't have my inhaler. Rang husband and asked if he could pick me up and he replied aggressively, "I'm in the middle of cooking." He wouldn't pick me up even after I said my asthma was bad. So I walked all the way back, barely being able to breathe. He did apologize for that and say he regretted it, which I was more surprised by than the fact he wouldn't pick me up, as he doesn't apologize much. I will also say, he's from another culture where it seems to be the norm not to talk to your spouse. I've been over to his home country many times and his mother and father didn't really talk. It seems like spouses are just living their life physically side by side but separated from each other. When I brought up these concerns about our emotional distance, he'll say, "You've been watching too many movies." Thing is though, I'm literally just asking for him to like being around me more. I just expected a partnership to feel like you are on the same team, not just spending most of your time by yourself. Otherwise, what's the point? Our marriage has always felt like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. I do feel a bit guilty posting this, because I think he's genuinely not realizing how shit it makes me feel, and a lot of it has to do with what's normal in his culture, which isn't his fault. I feel like the words "I want a divorce" are constantly on the tip of my tongue and I feel the urge to just get it out. What's stopping me currently is the fact it would be a huge upheaval, especially financially, because right now husband's the main breadwinner as I've been as our mum for 3 years. TL, doctor. Husband is passive aggressive and emotionally unavailable. Would you stay or would you go now? Now you know why a 28-year-old man would marry a teenager. You need to get out of this situation ASAP. Funnily enough, he doesn't really have this behavior with other people. He's a manager and genuinely treats his staff amazingly, which I always tell him that he's a great manager. He is genuinely a great friend, sibling and son. He's very kind and has no limits on what he would do for his family. He won a big flat screen TV through work and sent it straight to his dad even though he wanted one. It just doesn't really seem to extend to me. Okay, so now you know that the way he treats you is a choice. He is capable of being a kind, supportive, loving person, but he chooses not to treat you this way. So what are you going to do? Being mean to your spouse is not cultural, so throw that crap out of your head immediately. That's an excuse you have invented to let him off the hook. His parents have a shitty relationship, and so does he, not the everyone in their culture. You already know the answer. If it hasn't gotten better in 10 years, it's probably not going to happen. The upheaval will be difficult, but there are always 100 reasons not to do the things you know you have to do. Courts and lawyers handle alimony and child support. It won't be fun or easy, but you won't be thrown on the streets with your son. Good luck. I feel like the words "I want a divorce" are constantly on the tip of my tongue, and I feel the urge to just get it out. What's stopping me currently is the fact it would be a huge upheaval, especially financially, because right now husband's the main breadwinner, as I've been as our mum for 3 years. Here's a thought exercise. Think about that upheaval. Really try to picture it. Imagine needing to find your own place to live, set yourself up, share custody of your son with your ex to some extent. Imagine settling into it. Think about the ways in which your daily life will change, how you'll feel and what you'll do to make ends meet, keeping in mind that some financial assistance from your ex is likely. Once you've walked yourself through that possible future, go in the opposite direction. What will your life look like if nothing changes? If you stay married to, and financially dependent on, this same man for the rest of your life, how does that make you feel? Do you see happiness, contentment, resignation? Is there any fear, resentment, regret? Does the thought fill you with panic or relief? Have a feeling that considering both possibilities in depth will provide you with some clarity. My 30SF husband, 30SM, of 16 years, is untruthful with his parents. Now he's made it my job to ensure we don't end up with a service dog they want to get for our sons, 8 meters. Background: I have a kid with a high intervention medical diagnosis and a kid with an autism diagnosis and intellectual disability. My husband works and I stay home with the kids. My mill is on husband number 6, 5 years on now, and we've seen them maybe 4 or 5 times. Apparently, Phil 6's ex-wife, a lifelong alcoholic suffering from untreated mental illness whose 3 young adult children have no contact with her by choice, is from my hometown, where we now live, and he plies my husband with stories from the awful, nut job people down there when we visit. I'm too busy to notice because I'm running after my children, attending to their needs while the guys sit around and drink. I've never spent more than 30 minutes, and in mixed company, with Phil 6. I hear the stories secondhand from my husband on the long drive home. Phil 6 is also prone to taking my husband on long outings where they unexpectedly tailgate, or just happen to have lost track of time at the bar. The last time we were there, Phil 6 came home briefly just to hand my husband's phone to me and say, "You girls don't wait up now." So I couldn't call to tell him to come help me put the boys down for bed. I infer that I'm lumped in with Phil 6's ex-wife and the other awful people down here, and even if that's not the case, I'm not about that kind of vacation. I've told my husband he is free to take the kids and visit the in-laws anytime, but I won't be the patsy again. Surprise, he's not visited once since. Middle ground: I have long been searching for a way to get a service dog. With the medical alert piece and behavioral piece in our house, I felt like the kids would do well with a companion and I would do well with some backup special needs vigilance. I reached out to a breeder, chose a pup for temperament, found a very experienced trainer that would work with us to train our dog. There's no way we could afford a 25k plus service animal, but I thought I pieced it together pretty good. When we get the dog home, I'm struck. Our sons are 8 and 7, my 8 years/0 being the one with medical special needs, and my 7 years/0 the one with behavioral special needs. Their father takes this dog over for his own, hand feeding it, swaddling it in a blanket, sleeping with it, playing with it, cleaning up after it, talking baby talk to it, like he never does for his sons. My husband knows the minimum about HEO medical needs and doesn't initiate any interaction with our 7 years/0 unless his therapists are present and engage him. It hit me like a brick. By the 4th day, my husband suggested we name the dog Good Lucas. Our son with IDD is Lucas and, therefore, Bad Lucas, as we were having to redirect our son from eating the dog food, getting into the crate, messing with the puppy papers. I told my husband I didn't appreciate that and felt resentment toward him and the dog. His response was, "We're bonding over this dog. I think it will help our relationship." Really? It looked like you and the dog bonding, the boys weren't involved. Plus I have to tie a pork chop around your kid's neck for you to want to be adapt to him, basically. Oh, so a dog was fine when it was your idea, but now that I love it, you're mad and want to take the dog back. I wanted you to like the dog, not be more loving toward it than you are to your own kids. He continued to call the dog Good Lucas. I brought the pup back to the breeder the 5th day. Issue at hand, Mill wants to visit sometime in April. We haven't seen her since last spring due to COVID. We didn't Zoom or anything over Christmas or days. My husband had apparently talked to her the weekend we got the dog, and then as a follow-up, told her it was sick and we returned it and not to mention the dog anymore. Mill has assured him that due to her charity work and significant contributions, we will have a dog ASAP and she will make sure this one is healthy. The problem wasn't the dog. The problem is her son doesn't help me with the kids and treats the dog better than his own sons. Problem is that her son lies to her, outright or by omission, about everything. My kids are already sad that a dog was here for a little while and then left. I do not want Mill to show up with a dog, ever. My husband is fine with her showing up with a dog. He's unhappy we don't still have a dog. So now I have to talk to her. Do I explain her son's shitty behavior to her, which only makes sense if I reveal he's not been honest about the kind of relationship we have, or the kind of father he is? Or do I just tell her that I'm not in agreement about a dog anymore and any dog she brings will be immediately returned and they will lose out on whatever dollars the dog might be worth and just follow through with that if necessary? TLDR, my in-laws already think I'm crazy and a jerk for not letting my husband have fun when we go up there to visit them. Because of that, my husband has been the one to communicate with them, for years now, and does so poorly and rarely. He lied about the circumstances around which we returned the puppy and my Mill revealed she has been working with a charity to raise money that then works with you to raise money for your needs. My husband is fine with another dog and has no intentions of telling her not to continue with this plan. I do not want another dog as long as I am married to this man. Do I explain the situation about the returned dog? Or do I just again look like a crazy jerk and tell Mill/Phil 6 I will not allow a dog, even a service dog, in my house?